Marshals gave us another episode full of action and drama, and as we get closer and closer to the season finale, I'm genuinely incredibly curious about what's going to happen next. Will Andrea and Kayce finally grow closer to each other? Did Calvin completely forgive Kayce? What important mission is waiting for Miles? First, let's take a look together at the important details we saw in episode 11. And then let's talk about what we might see in episode 12. First of all, I want to start with Roner's death, which we've been wondering about all season long. Even though it was truly a very tragic event, I'm glad that we finally got to learn about the traumatic incident that drove these brothers apart this badly. In the flashback scenes during the episode, we saw Kayce, Calvin, Garrett, and Roner involved in a difficult operation in Afghanistan back in 2015. And during this operation, we saw that Roner got separated from the team, and because the team thought he was dead, they pulled out of the operation without rescuing him. And this death really devastated every single one of them, because they truly saw each other as brothers. And honestly, even though we only saw Roner for a few minutes, his death genuinely made me really emotional too. However, later on, we learned that Roner didn't actually die immediately, and after getting injured, he kept fighting for a while longer. But because his team never came back to rescue him, he eventually couldn't hold on anymore and lost his life. Of course, because of that, you would think that the person who pulled the team out of the operation would carry a huge amount of guilt. And we thought that person was Calvin, but the truth is, it was Garrett. Garrett told Calvin that Roner was definitely dead and said they could pull back. And because of that, Calvin withdrew the team. And Calvin hid this information because Garrett already felt guilty and he didn't want his mental state to get even worse. So he let everyone continue believing that he was responsible for Roner's death. Honestly, what Calvin did here is truly heroic. And when I realized that Calvin had been blamed unfairly this whole time, I genuinely felt really bad for him. Another very important storyline we saw in the episode was definitely everything Neil talked about. Honestly, I think the Duttons have caused more chaos in Montana than healing. And both from the things Neil talked about and from Kayce referring to all of this as his family's sins, we saw that Calvin also believes the Duttons are the real guilty ones. However, because Kayce saved Calvin's life under those terrible circumstances, and because Calvin remembered the past and started seeing Kayce as his brother again, it ended with Calvin forgiving Kayce and saying that he's forgetting everything he learned. But even though there's no longer any problem between Kayce and Calvin, at the end of the episode, we learned that Garrett died because of the damage to his lungs, even though the surgery itself was successful. And because of that, Calvin lost Garrett before he could talk to him one